Okay, everyone, so the last lesson for equations. For some of you, you might be happy to take a little break from algebra. But we really have needed to spend a lot of time on this to prepare you as best as we can for next year. Okay, so what I'm going to do today is I'm going to review everything we've done just for equations. And I'll do, one or two questions for each. There'll be a review assignment, which you should do, and then there'll be a slightly more comprehensive quiz test on Friday, okay, covering all of these. Okay, so as you can see, there is substitution, okay, so we'll go over a question just with substitution. One-step equations, right, solving with reverse operations. The two-step equations, equations that we did with brackets and solving, and then solving an equation and then checking your answer. Okay, so those are the 5 things that we've done for this unit, and I'll review a couple questions now. Okay, so let's go over a couple substitution questions. Okay, so let's say that x is equal to -5 and y is equal to 3. Okay, so that's kind of a typical substitution question. It'll tell you what the variables are equal to, and then it'll give you something like this, where it's 3x minus 4y. Okay, and it's asking you to solve what that expression equals. So you're going to take what x equals, substitute in for x, what y equals and substitute in for y, and then you'll solve. So my next line should be basically substituting in the variables, the numbers for the variables. So x is -5, so I put my brackets and I put -5 in the brackets, okay? -4 brackets for the y, and y is equal to 3. Okay, so here I have multiplication, here I have multiplication, and then I have subtraction. So you should, as you see a question like this, you should think in your head the kind of what the order is. So I would do on my next line, I'm going to do this multiplication, I'm going to do this multiplication, okay? And then this subtraction between the two is going to be done on the line after that. Okay, so 3 times -5, that's -15. Minus 4 times 3 is 12. Okay, so now I can do that, and that should be -27. Okay, so that's it. That's what you would get for a substitution question like this. Let's do one more. So we'll use the same variables here, but I'll do another question. The more the better, right? For with any of this, the more practice, the better. So 5x plus 6y divided by x minus y plus 1. Okay, recall from our very first lesson of the unit that when we have an expression divided by another expression, we are going to solve the expression on the top, and then we'll solve the expression on the bottom, and when we get those numbers, then we'll divide, okay? So my next line is just going to be substituting in the values. So I have 5 brackets for the x, and x is equal to -5. Plus 6 brackets for the y, and y is 3. Okay, kind of a messy 3. Okay, so there's my top, my numerator, and then on the bottom, x is equal to -5. So I'm going to put -5 in for x, minus y, okay, so that's going to be -3, and plus 1. Okay, I'm going to solve my top, which is going to take 2 steps, because you can see that you've got multiplication, multiplication. I can do those at the same time, and then I'll have to add those after. Okay, so I've got 1 line and 2 lines. The bottom I can just do all in 1 line because it's subtraction, subtraction, addition, which you can do all at the same time. Okay, so my next line is going to be 5 times -5, that's -25, and 6 times 3, that's going to be plus 18. Okay, and then my bottom, I'm going to have negative 5 minus 3, that's negative 8, plus 1 is negative 7. Okay, on the top, I have negative 25 plus 18, that should be negative 7. Okay, and then divided by negative 7, so my answer should be 1. Okay, so there's 2 substitution questions. You know, watch them a couple times if this was something in the unit that you struggled with. Yeah, so next what I'm going to do is some examples of one-step equations. So these are all going to be one step. Okay, I'll try to do an example for each one. So remember we had our reverse operations, right? So right over here. So this is reverse operations. Okay, so if you were adding, when it goes over to the other side of the equal sign, you are going to subtract, right? If you're subtracting, goes over to the other side of the equal sign, you're adding. Multiplication, reverse, division, division, reverse, multiplication. Okay, so let's say I have an example of x minus 5 equals 2. Okay, so here I'm subtracting, right? So when the 5 moves over, I'm going to add. So this would be 2 plus 5, so x equals 7. Okay, that's an example of using subtraction. When using addition, 3 plus x equals 9. Okay, it doesn't matter for this question if I write 3 plus x or x plus 3. Okay, the 3 is positive, the x is positive, I'm adding these. Okay, so when the 3 moves over, I'm going to subtract the reverse. So x equals 9 minus 3, x equals 6. Okay, question number 3. So I've done one with subtraction, one with addition. Let's do one with multiplication. So let's say I've got 6x equals 24. Okay, you'll probably, like these ones should be really automatic because for all the 2 steps that we've been doing, almost all the time it finishes off with something that looks like this, where you say, okay, this is multiplication. 6 is going to come over, I'm going to divide by 6. So x is going to equal 24 divided by 6, which is 4. Okay, x equals 4. And lastly, an example with division. Let's say we had y divided by 3 equals 7. Okay, because this is division, when the 3 comes over, it's going to be multiplication. So y is going to equal 7 times 3, y is going to equal 21. Okay, so that's an example of one-step equations for subtraction, addition, multiplication, and division. Okay, next is the multi-step. Okay, the multi-step being, we had the 2-step equations and we also had equations with brackets. Okay, so you're not just doing one thing. You're not just doing a subtraction, moving it over, or just an addition. You have to do it in 2 different steps. So let's say, okay, I'll write here 2-step equations and solving with brackets. Okay, so I'm going to do both of these. So 2-step, 6x minus 12 equals 18, we'll say. Okay, so this is where we know we can't just divide by the 6 in front of the x. Okay, we can move this over, but we're still gonna have to divide. So there's a couple steps, right? So we set up our variable side, our number side, and the 12 is gonna move over. Because it's subtract 12 here, it's gonna be plus 12 here. Okay, yeah, that works. And we're going to have 6x staying on this side. On this side, it's going to be 18 plus 12, okay, which is 30. So we have, so that's our first step, right, is the two different sides. Our last step is solving for x by basically getting rid of the 6. The 6 is going to move over, we're going to divide by 6. So x is going to be equal 30 divided by 6, which is 5. Okay, x equals 5. So that's a two-step equation. Let me do one with brackets. 3 brackets x minus 6 equals 3. Okay, so similar to above, except that now I have brackets, which I need to get rid of before I can move things around. So I'm going to multiply the 3 by the x and the 3 by the negative 6. So 3 times x is 3x, 3 times negative 6 is negative 18 equals 3. Okay, now I can move things around so that I have my variable side and my number side. So this minus 18 is going to move over here and become plus 18. So on the left-hand side, I just have 3x. On the right-hand side, I have 3 plus 18. So 3x equals 21. Okay, and then lastly, to finish it off, I will divide by 3. So x is going to equal 21 divided by 3, which is 7. X equals 7. Okay, so there's an example of a two-step equation and an equation where you're solving and it has brackets in it. Very similar, this one just has an extra step of getting rid of the brackets. Okay. Lastly, I'll do an example of solving and then checking your answer, checking your solution. Okay, let's do this one. So, let's see. Okay, sorry, this is solving, then checking. Okay, so the question I have is 5x equals 2x plus 15. Okay, and these tend to be questions that we don't like as much because we're like, oh, there's a component here with the variable and there's another section with a variable here, but it's really not that different than when you have numbers and you're moving things around. Okay, so just establish your two different sides of the equal sign. So this is my variable side, this is my number side. So this one stays, this one moves. So on the left-hand side, I'm going to write the 5x down first because it's staying. The 2x is moving over. Because it's positive on this side, it's going to be negative when it moves over. So minus 2x, and the 15 stays. So that's what I have on my number side. So I have 5x here, minus 2x, so 5x minus 2x is 3x. So I have 3x equals 15. So now my last step is going to be, that's multiplication, is going to be dividing by 3. So I have x equals 15 divided by 3, x equals 5. Okay, so in a solving then checking solution question, my first step is going to be first finding what x equals. My second step is going to be substituting the 5 into the original equation and checking that that both sides equal each other. Okay, so on the left-hand side, I have 5x. I'm just going to write my equation out first. Equals 2x plus 15. So now x needs to go in for here and here. Or sorry, the 5 will go in for x, two different spots. So on the left-hand side, I have 5 brackets 5. So 5 times 5 is on the left-hand side. And on the right-hand side, I have 2 times 5 and then plus 15. Okay, so work independently. The left-hand side is going to be 5 times 5, that's 25. The right-hand side is going to be 2 times 5, which is 10. And then I need to add 5. So my left-hand side is 25. I'm just going to write that down. And 10 plus 15 is 25. Okay, so because 25 left side equals the right side, I know that x equals 5 is the correct solution. Okay, so that's all the review I wanted to do. Watch the video a couple times if there's some things that you need to check over. But most importantly, do as much practice as you can, because it will just help you to understand and see the patterns and get good at doing these questions. Okay, let me know if there's any problems.